This is the Blaring Out with Eric Blair show, and today I'm pleased to have Jack Grisham, frontman for the legendary Los Angeles punk band T.S.O.L, songwriter, gubernatorial candidate, actor, political activist, and now author of An American Demon, a memoir by Jack Grisham. Okay, Cathedral of Tears.
Yeah.
Now, you signed a deal with Enigma Records.
Right.
Who signed you? Was it Wes?
I think it might have been Bill.
Bill signed you.
Might have been Bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
You get signed to Enigma Records.
Did the record. Chaz Ramirez, the late Chaz Ramirez, was the one that recorded us.
Hi, Mom.
We had a blast. Chaz and I having fun, drinking, going nuts. You know, some bad stuff happened too. But so the record gets done, and we give it to Bill, and it's not. They're all new songs. Bill never heard of them, doesn't know, and he listens to it, and he goes, "This is shit. This is terrible. I hate this. This is not what you gave me. What is this?" He was upset, right? So I told Bill, I said, "Look, this one's a hit. The rest is not, but this is a good song right here." And Bill goes, "No, those are not good songs." So I actually went down to the studio, took the tape, told him I could have the tape. They made me a mix. I drove the mix right to K-Rock. So there's no record, there's no nothing, nothing's out. I give it to one of the guys at K-Rock, and while I was driving away, they were already playing it on the radio. And it went, I think it was the number 4 requested song of 1984.
Wow.
You know, but with no record, no nothing. It's in hot rotation. They can't, you know, it's like, you bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have no product to sell.
Product.
Now that it's hot, there's nothing people want it.
And no band.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a mess.
So essentially after that, you're just like, you're done. You don't want to, after Cathedral of Tears, I mean, you put together...
Yeah, 10 or
yeah, but that's kind of down the road a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I just kind of, I went through a stretch where it wasn't, I just real depressed and didn't, and not like I think I more was playing music because I wanted the attention more than I cared about what I was doing. Do you know what I'm saying? It was almost a little bit of an addiction for the attention than really caring about lyrics and, you know, sound, what I was doing. So I went through a stretch of that was pretty uncomfortable.
The thing I want to talk about Tender Fury is Josh Freese plays drums on one of your records.
Last record.
Okay, the last record, which you think is the best one.
It's great, yeah.
Okay.
I will say it's great. I mean, it's a great, the record was called If Anger Were Soul, I'd Be James Brown. And that was the last, that was the Tender Fury record. Now I'd gotten clean, I'd woken up, I'm looking at my own behavior, and then lyrically on that record, I started writing about my behavior. So the lyrics became real then. And if you look back to you know, how I developed as a lyricist, that was the major turning point, was that record. Because that's when I really started digging in instead of just writing whatever, you know. And of course, Josh Freese, I'll tell you, Josh Freese played drums, Frank Agnew played guitar, Randy Bradbury, who's now in Pennywise, played bass, and then I sang. My friend Eddie played some keyboards. The other guy, you know, so I played a little keyboards. And Ronnie Champagne, that was one of the engineers for Jane's Addiction, was the one that produced it. And great record. I mean, way ahead of its time. We were using samples. We were using all sorts of stuff that nobody was using, you know. And it didn't do well commercially, but it did well interview-wise, or review-wise. Great reviews, no sales. But it's still one of my favorite records.
You know, I was pretty amazed when I listened to the Vicious Circle demo, because you brought up your lyric writing. I mean, the fact that you were so aware of what was going on politically in the world at the time that you did that, and then the T.S.O.L records, I was pretty amazed. I mean, that you were so in touch with anti-government and that you could really see what was going on in the government.
But whether it was you know, aping what someone else said,
okay,
or really having your own thoughts on it. Do you see what I'm saying?
So that's really what was going on.
I think a lot of it was that. I mean, I had no experience with what it was to be a taxpayer. I'd never paid taxes. I didn't know what it was to be drafted. There was no draft. We signed up for selective service, but you know, I actually tried to join one time. I tried to join the service. I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been the Navy. And the recruiter called my dad, and my dad said, "I don't know what he's up to, but do not."
Really?
Yeah. Well, my dad was 30 years in the service, so I think my dad thought I might have been up to something. Off the first EP, the T.S.O.L. EP, there was only 2 songs. I wrote No Way Out and I can't remember what. Yeah, maybe that was the only one off that record. So those were the first songs, and then I came after that and wrote all the lyrics for "Dance with Me" and everything else after that. But if you look at some of the lyrics on those songs, they're not. I mean, if you look, there's a song, "Superficial Love." It says "Superficial love only for a F word."
Yeah.
But love is incest, and it's only for a buck. Eating to survive, surviving for free, peacetime, wartime, trying to draft me. It's like, what the hell? What are you talking about this? Are you talking about that? What are you talking about? So some of it, when you break it down, it doesn't make much sense either.
When does your moment of clarity come? When do you realize I'm an asshole?
It's not a pleasant moment. It's not pleasant. Well, I think the first thing I woke up to when someone accused me of being an alcoholic, I was angry at them. You know, it had been suggested before. I had a couple bosses say, hey, I think it looks like you might have a problem with the alcohol, you know, and the drugs. I'm like, come on, no, I'm not. And I'm looking around at all my buddies, and I'm saying, no problem here. You know, it's crazy. Sometimes I think it's a shock when some of these alcoholics even wake up in the first place. It's almost like a bunch of pigs down in the sty, all down there, and all of a sudden one of them sticks their head up and goes, do you smell that shit? You smell that? You know, this is foul. Because basically, like attracts like. I'm hanging with animals. It's not like I'm going to church and hanging out with nice people, you know, and then after the sermon, I'm like coming up to the pastor and saying, hey, you want to get some blow and go rob a liquor store? I'm not doing that. You know, it's like I'm hanging with guys that are drinking, shooting dope, you know, taking pills, going to jail, fighting, going. So my behavior didn't seem out of the ordinary. And to some of those guys, judging with some of these guys, I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. You know, look at him. He lives in an alley and he's shooting up every day. I'm just drinking, taking pills, a little cocaine, smoking some, you know, whatever it is. I'm solid. So when I was first accused of being an alcoholic, I was infuriated. I was like, please, you know, I was insulted that they would say something like that to me. And so the first time I woke up is when I looked at my behavior and I thought, you know what, I've been loaded every day. That was the first thing I woke up to. I thought, God, I have been loaded every day. As far as I can remember, I've been drinking, smoking weed, doing something every day. Now, it might not have been the same substance every day, but there was something going on to get my brain to say, just stop, right, every day. So that was the first waking up I did. It wasn't until later that I started waking up to the behavior. First it was the drinking and the drug, and I'll stop this, and then it was the behavior. I remember one of the things I woke up, after I'd been sober for a while, I got kind of this better than you thing. It's like I'm sober and you're not, and blah, 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 right? So my mom comes to me one time. My brother-in-law had stolen his grandmother's car. And my mom says, hey, you know, so-and-so took Dottie's car. What should we do about it? I go, I'll tell you what to do about it. You don't give those addicts a break. You got to come down hard. Go, it's tough love, Mom. It's tough love. I go, you got to call the cops and get him thrown in jail. And my mom looks at me and says, I didn't call the cops when you stole my car. And I thought, yeah, well, hey, he'll bring it back. Don't worry about it. Let's let it go. So that kind of little things like that started waking me up to my own behavior. I started looking at myself. And then one of the Hunt Sales, great drummer.
Tin Machine, him and his brother Tony Sales played on Lust for Life.
Right.
Iggy Pop, the Berlin.
Dave Bowie. Yeah, crazy. I mean, and wonderful drum, and the greatest, funnest guy. So solid, right? Hunt and I were sitting in a recording studio one time, and I'd been clean for a while, right? And so Hunt's smoking, and he goes, Jack, he goes, you know what? And he takes a hit. He goes, one time you're gonna find yourself, Bubby. That's what he says. You know, he talks like that thing, you know, like his dad said. He goes, one time you're gonna find yourself, Bubby. And he takes another hit and he goes, and you're not gonna be too happy about it. And that's what he said. And basically he was talking about a moment of clarity. He goes, you may think you're something, man, but you're gonna wake up. And so thank God I didn't wake up all at once at one day. Gradual moments of clarity, seeing my behavior. Hey, look at the way you're treating your kids. Look at the way you're treating your family, your friends. You know, little wake ups at a time. If I woke up all at once the first day, I'd hang myself. It would have been terrible.
Yeah, I know that feeling. What was it like being sober and being in the Joykiller?
I was great. I love the Joykiller. That was. I mean, still one of my favorite bands. I love that band. It was so fun. So inventive and cool and just fun, and I loved it. It was I was at the time, I was probably about 6 years sober when the Joykiller started. A lot of people were into punk rock, into that sound, so it was cool. A lot of kids coming out to shows. And then just to be able to experiment with the keyboards and back to the, it was kind of like what we did with T.S.O.L. It was almost, the Joykiller a lot of times felt like it was an extension of what T.S.O.L. would have been if we would have kept going. That's what it felt like. Just, I mean, unbelievable, great times. To get back on the road sober, to appreciate it. It's one thing to go out, when you're going out and you're not appreciating it and you feel entitled and you're doing this and you're not really awake and you're just going through the thing and nothing's good enough for you and they're not treating you right and this crowd ain't cool and these guys are assholes, blah, blah, blah. But to go back awake and really with gratitude, to walk on stage and every time you walk on stage say, God, look how cool this is. Look what I get to do for a job. Look what, this is my job. My job is basically getting on stage, running around, playing music that I love creating, and basically having people tell me you're cool. I mean, you get paid for that.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd go on stage with a smile on my face every day. I remember the guitar player, Sean Greaves in the Joykiller, was complaining to me about the sound on stage. We're touring with the Offspring, right? And he's upset with the sound. I said, come on, let's take a walk. And I walked him off stage. I said, look, bro, you're a painter. You're a house painter, apartment painter. I go, a month from now, this tour is going to be over, and you're going to be sitting in some crappy one-room apartment in some dive somewhere, painting it Navajo white all day long, wishing you were back on stage having a great time. He goes, yep. I go, why don't we walk out? Let's just have some fun, man. And, it's great because he walked out and had a totally different attitude. And so being in the Joykiller, being sober in the Joykiller, making those records, playing those shows was great. Unbelievable.
The Blaring Out Show.